locked off, so I'm just getting this broken glass.
Take a look inside for yourself. It's...
Ooh, right. Gee.
There's a chap who's asleep.
There's a chap under a blanket over there, yeah, poor guy. This is worse than I even expected. See the rat running across there? Looking at us? Gone in? I'm told that there, see him running across the floor? They're big, aren't they?
Yeah, huge.
They are huge rats. Yeah. Are we okay doing this? I mean, it is their space, as it were. I feel a little bit...
I think if it's made public, maybe it's going to help these people.
There's a very strong smell of fire, isn't there? And urine and fire.
Yeah.
And I have to say, feces, you know.
Yeah. Everyone sees them as an inconvenience, but nobody sees the amount of trouble these people are in.
I must say you have a remarkable sense of sympathy, given that you have to put up with the rubbish that is generated from this place, the human waste, the behaviour, the fights, the drinking, and yet you can stand in here and see them as human beings. I don't think I've ever been in a place as degraded as this. It's the very pits of degradation, isn't it? Hello. Morning. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Do you speak English? Do you speak English? We're leaving now. I think that was a time to make an exit.
He was only going to upset him.
It was going to upset him. He didn't look at all happy that we were in there, and I can sympathise with that. It's his space, you know.
We've tried border control, Home Office, police.
Right.
We've got nowhere whatsoever, so we've given up now.
The police have been powerless to help, as there's no actual proof the squatters broke into the building, and therefore no criminal offence had been committed.
What are you going to do with them? Unless you can house them, there's nothing to do with them.
Now I'd woken the squatter up, I wasn't sure how he'd react.
Hello. How are you doing?
All right.
Oh, you speak some English?
No.
No, you don't speak English? A little English?
Speak.
What's your name?
My name?
Yeah, I'm Richard.
Richard.
And what are you?
What you from?
Where am I from?
No.
Well, I'm from England. I'm English.
That's what you're doing here.
We're doing a story about people like you that live in buildings.
This man know me.
Yeah.
No health problem to me.
No.
Yeah. No. What you
So
want?
there are no problems.
What you want?
How long have you been in there for?
Well, ask him. No, you ask.
You ask him. He wants you to be the reporter. That's fine.
No. Understand?
No.
I don't know.
Thank you very much. We're done here. Thank you.
Don't
No, okay.
give to you.
Okay.
For this man, I give.
Okay.
You can
Okay.
understand you.
Okay. Cool. I don't know how you solve those guys. You know, when the owner of this property eventually gets planning permission to do whatever the heck he wants to do here, build another garage or something, and they do knock that down, these guys aren't going to just sort of evaporate into thin air. They're going to go somewhere else and live in exactly the same conditions. I mean, they are absolutely stuck with it.
And there were more shocking surprises in store. In Bristol, I was about to see how squatters have formed into groups, are experts at exploiting the law and taking control of other people's property.
I know that you must have broken into my house.
My search to meet Britain's squatters has brought me to Bristol, which after London has become another mecca for squatting. Unofficial estimates say around 1,000 people are squatting in the city. And I'd heard they'd organised themselves into groups so they can squat more effectively. They've got their own shop, community centre, they've even got their own planning committee.
This is a meeting of the Bristol Housing Action Movement, BAM they call it, and they meet every week, and they meet just like a housing committee, except it's to do with squats.
After several weeks of negotiating, I'm finally being allowed into one of the meetings.
Hiya, thanks for seeing me.
Everyone in this room is, or has been, a squatter. They meet each week, trying to help people to find new places to live in, for free.
A bit like a kind of a planning committee, isn't it? It's like the alternative Bristol Planning Committee.
We're like the council, but more efficient.
Well,
we collect a levy, so anybody who's got any spare change, please put it in the middle. Yeah, whatever you can spare is fine.
This whip round pays for tools to make new squats habitable.
Okay, next on the agenda is homelessness. Anybody here homeless tonight? Anybody near?
A couple of last stragglers from New Street are homeless, but we're looking out for new buildings currently.
Okay,
We've got a couple of
so
possibilities.
We've got a list of empties, and we can sort you out with a few places to go and look at tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
so am I right to assume that an empty is an unoccupied building, is that it?
Yeah, and unlike any building that's not being used by anyone else.
So in that case, really, these weekly meetings are to rehouse homeless people in squats. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah, the process of squatting is you occupy a building and then you get evicted, and then you occupy a building, you get evicted.
It's open to anyone. Anyone can come along, present themselves as homeless, and we'll try our best to sort them out. You don't need to be claiming housing benefits or signing on. You just turn up, you have a chat with us, and we see what we can do. We see if we can get you in any old squats, or we see if we can find you a new one, or if there's several different homeless people, we'll try and group them together to find a new place.
So how many people here then, sitting tonight, have been directly helped by this committee, if you like?
Yeah,
everybody. Yeah.
It's a community, that's what we do.
I like to sort of think of us as like urban wombles. We roam the streets.
You may like to think of this.
We look for things that aren't being used and we make a use of them. Yeah. How can you argue the moralities of that? Like when the banks, they're not poor, they own several properties, we use them for practical use. We don't pay rent, no, but at least, people aren't sleeping rough.
Apparently there are other groups like this around the country, actively scouting for empty properties to squat. As I split my time between homes in London and Cornwall, should I be nervous?
When people think squatters, they think, yeah, that's a family who go away on holiday, 2.4 children, and they come back and people have moved into the house and they look through the windows and they've changed the locks and they're drinking their wine and frying up the bacon. That is a public perception of squatting, isn't it?
What you've just described is always going to be against the law. It's burglary. Going into somebody's home, taking their possessions, creating your home out of their home is obviously going to be an issue. The simple fact of the matter is it's not what we do. We look at empty buildings, whether they're houses, whether they're industrial buildings. We try and create a useful home space out of those buildings.
But if groups like this help people who need somewhere to live, what about the owners and landlords whose properties they're occupying unlawfully? I tracked down Dave Durant, who owns a property in South Bristol, which is currently being squatted by some people from BAM. It was the second time he'd had squatters here, and Dave's become, well, exasperated.
The police make it pretty clear that once somebody else is in the property, you've somehow forfeited your rights.
Yeah.
To get in.
Hello, excuse me. Hi, are you squatting here?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Did I see you the other night?
You did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This, you know that this is the owner.
I do.
This is
indeed,
Dave. Yeah.
Right, Dave. We're looking after your building, Dave. We haven't made any damage to it whatsoever.
Obviously, Dave wants you to get out, and he's
Yeah,
taking...
that's fair enough because it's his building, but we're occupying your building. We're looking after your building. We're not gonna scrap your building. We're not gonna make any damage to your building whatsoever.
No. Right.
How does that make
And
you
that's a
feel?
promise. Like,
Well, it's just ludicrous. It's fine. I mean, I think there are degrees of damage that can be done. I mean, the amount of damage that was done last time we had squatters was phenomenal.
but that's last time. They were different people. We are different squatters. I've been squatting for 2 years myself.
Yes.
We're not gonna make any damage to the building.
You don't know who else might come into the squat at some point. You can see his point, can't
Yeah,
you?
we do, because we've had people coming in saying, "Oh, can we live here?" And I've been, "No, you cannot live here because I don't know who you are, because you might wreck."
But I don't know who you are.
I know that's true, but I don't know who you are. You know, I know
He's the owner.
I'm the owner.
You are, well, yeah, you're the owner of the building. I'm a squatter that's been squatting for 2 years. I haven't wrecked any buildings. I've never scrapped a building in my life.
No, but
I've
actually...
never made damage to a building in my life.
But actually, my
I can understand
feeling
completely,
about
yeah.
squatters is not based on what you're saying, but it's based on my experience over the last 12 months.
Dave, do you have any sympathy for his position? That he's homeless and he's got no alternatives. Right, look.
Fucking getting wet, bruv. Come on.
Go on.
Your friend's got less patience than you.
I'll see you later.
Okay. To be perfectly honest, these guys are in a situation they've probably got nowhere to live, probably got no money, and the way the law's constructed, it provides them with some sort of rights to occupy my building. That's the main thing.
By chance, Tristan, the urban womble I'd met the other night, was coming out of Dave's property.
Have you guys met before?
Yeah,
Yes,
briefly.
through the window.
But there's one question in particular that Dave really wants answering.
How did you get in?
I'm obviously not going to tell you. I'm telling you. I'll tell you like I told the camera crew. The door was open and we walked in.
Yeah.
Well, if,
But that's not strictly true.
Well, nothing can be proved otherwise.
But I know that the place was locked. You know that the place was locked.
You don't know.
well, he left it
That's why
locked.
it wouldn't stand in court if you tried to say
We're not
otherwise.
talking about whether it's standing court. We're standing here in front of each other talking about the situation. And I know that you must have broken into my house, into my property.
And your answer to that is,
And your answer is
I'm not
prove
going
it.
to tell you, which
I'm not gonna tell you.
which does sound like an admission of guilt by omission,
No,
doesn't
it's
it?
not what I said. I said the door was open, and you can't prove otherwise, so therefore you're going to have to believe me. Out of interest, how many properties do you own?
That's got nothing to do with it.
Well, it has, really.
No, it hasn't.
Like,
it's got absolutely
I'm sure
nothing to do
you've
with
got
this
far more
property.
money than any of us have. In
It's
fact,
nothing
we
to do
have
with
nothing.
money.
Well,
Well,
it is.
no, it's
It is.
not.
It's to do with you're wealthy, we're not. And you've got several properties, so it's not like you're really suffering. You might be suffering financially, but it's not like you're not going to be able to buy a BMW next year still after this, are you?
Do you want to carry on with it? Is there any point?
I think
You're not getting to the point of what it's about. I mean, it's just.
Well, I am getting to the point of what it's about.
you're
You're
not.
talking about how you're suffering financially. We're
I'm
talking
not talking
about how
about that.
we might
I'm
be
not
sleeping
talking
on
about-
the streets or
I'm not
starving.
talking- I'm not
that seems
talking-
more important than your plans to redevelop this building. We're not taking it. It's not become ours. We're just borrowing it. And providing we don't cause any damage, I fail to see any morality issues.
it's quite a lot, isn't it, to ask him to trust people that he's never met when they say we won't damage the property.
Oh yeah, of course, and it doesn't happen every time. Countless buildings, I'm sure, have been destroyed by squatters. But at the end of the day, damage is not, in my view, and this is quite an extreme view to some people, damage is damage. But if people are suffering, they should be allowed to sleep under a roof, especially if it's laid dormant like this one.
He's taken a moral view that I've got money, so I've got no rights to anything. You know, he can take what he wants. I disagree with that.
Could you explain? Could you explain that view? Because I
Yes,
didn't-
I see it's greed. When there's 5 of us wandering around on the streets, hungry, needing somewhere to live, when he has multiple properties, I see that as greed.
I've asked you if you've got any sympathy. Hello, hi. I've asked you if you've got any sympathy at all for his position, and you just call him greedy. It just seems very one-sided.
Well, okay, without sounding even more ruthless, until you've been in our positions and suffered like we are, I don't think you're going to find it hard to have a balanced view, especially as when you've got such a large bank account, I'm sure you all have, compared to ours, which is 0 pence. No, I've got 10p, which I found on the floor. And this is true suffering. And I don't know when the last time any of you lot have really suffered, when you haven't had any food to eat, you haven't had somewhere to sleep.
But why are we greedy? That's a real insult. I'm not greedy at all.
Can I
mind if I just
wander over there and get a fan?
So
Yeah, you're gonna have a
personal
fact.
politics.
Do you want to roll up?
Yeah.
There you
Thank
go.
very much. Well,
They're giving of you. Very ungreedy there.
Yeah, it's very, very angry.
Sorry, it's a loose Rizzler.
This is a bit surreal, isn't it? Sort of swapping tobacco. It's not something I guess you expected to.
very ancient right.
It's definitely a first experience with me with a landlord.
Well, you said you're not interested in going back inside now. You've seen enough. But even if you did, you wouldn't let him into the house, would you? You said you wouldn't let him in.
No, that just.
Why not? It's his. No, justify that. Why would you not let him in? He's not going to beat anyone up or sort
Well,
of cause any trouble.
I have no guarantee what he's going to do once he gets inside. It's just
Well, hang on,
just basic rules squatting. You don't let the police in,
can I
you
just
don't let
say-
the landlord in.
You won't let him into his own
I
property?
tell you what, I'd let him into a home if he lost all his other properties and he had nowhere to sleep but the streets, then he's welcome.
This is the most surreal conversation I've ever observed.
No, we won't-
Absolutely strange. Is there any way I could possibly suggest you shake hands and sort of wish each
Yeah,
other?
he's a human being if he wants to shake my hand. I respect people for being human beings, what they do.
Like many thousands today, Tristan and his friends are homeless, and I feel sorry for them. But it can't be right to occupy Dave's property and refuse to let him in. Before September 2012, in simple terms, as long as you didn't break into a property, you weren't committing a crime if you were squatting. A landlord would have to go to court to evict squatters, which could be expensive. But under the new law, squatting in a residential property is now a criminal offence, and the police can intervene.
Well, I've come to the Houses of Parliament, as you can see, to have a chat with Mike Weatherly. Now, Mr. Weatherly is the MP for Hove, which is next to Brighton, which has a big squatting problem. And he, to Britain squatters, is public enemy number one, because he's the architect behind this new law which makes squatting in a domestic house or property a criminal offence. They hate him.
I wondered if Mike would have any sympathy for someone in Tristan's situation.
Do you think that squatters are rather demonised in this country, or, I mean...
No.
No? You don't?
No, I don't think they're demonised at all. I don't think they're demonised enough. I think there are far too many people in this country who stand up for squatters saying, well, they're in an empty property, what's wrong with that? They leave it in a mess, there's often drug taking, there's often antisocial behaviour, the residents are often terrified, there's late night parties, and it shouldn't happen. It's not their property. They're just anarchists trying to just stick it against the system.
And do you tar all squatters with that brush? Do you call them all freeloaders and anarchists?
Well, mostly they are. I'm sorry to say this, but they are. You've got to separate out homeless people from squatters, and we're not trying to demonise homeless people at all. And those people do need support. But what we're talking about is people who are taking what's not theirs. There was a property about to be redeveloped in Hove, and some squatters moved in. They broke down the doors and moved in.
Which is illegal.
It's illegal, but I've asked the police in their 13 years, the inspector there said he's never prosecuted anyone because they can't prove who did it. And what they did is put on the internet saying, come down to Brighton for a nice party. And people from as far away as Bristol were coming in to actually squat. Now, these aren't homeless people. These are internet savvy, well-organised people who are just taking what's not theirs.
And are you confident that this law, when it comes into force, will solve the problem, as you see it?
If it does solve it, I'll be delighted. I mean, that should be the way every citizen in this country should be delighted, that when they go home tonight, they're not actually worried about whether their property is being occupied by a squatter or not.
Are they?
Well, I think people are concerned about that. If I take you down some of the streets where someone's moved into it, they will say, well, that could happen to me, and it can happen. I use that example where they just put the hole through.
I think, at face value, he's got an excellent case. I do wonder, though, if it's as black and white as he says. I'm not sure that all squatters are bad squatters and are bad for their communities, but we'll see. We'll find out.
Some people sincerely believe that squatting is their only option. So, I wanted to see the harsh reality of what it's like never to have a permanent roof over your head.
So all of this you find in a shop skip or a supermarket skip?
Yeah, they throw it away every single night.
estimated there are nearly 1 million empty properties in the UK. 1 million. When homelessness is on the rise in England, that seems a shocking statistic. In the heart of the affluent city of London is a 5-storey commercial building worth millions, and it's now being squatted. The new law is powerless to evict the squatters because the building isn't residential, it's commercial. Squatting campaigner and poet Catherine Brogan has lived here, rent-free, for 6 months.
Have you closed the door, right? Number 1 rule of squatting, guys, make sure the door is closed behind you.
Why is the number 1 rule of squatting never to leave the door open? Because actually I do leave my door open.
Basically, the principle of living in an empty building and being able to stay there is that you take possession of that building. If you let someone else come in and take possession, it's no longer yours to possess. Shall I show you upstairs?
Yeah. How many floors you got here?
There's 5 floors altogether.
There could be any number of reasons why owners of empty properties leave them in a dilapidated state. But Catherine feels strongly that many owners actually do it on purpose.
Owners of empty buildings, they destroy their property in order to prevent...
You mean on the inside?
They break the toilet, they break the stairs, they mess it up so that no one wants to live in it. The ceilings, the wiring, the water, everything has been stripped. The owner isn't interested in bringing this property back into use. To them, I think this is just a number on a balance sheet. This is, what, a £20 million asset to them? Why do they want to do anything with it?
Do you get kind of a kick out of that? For all the difficulties, the fact that you are actually living in a place that I couldn't afford, it's a blow struck, isn't it?
I think that if you're going to leave a property empty, then we've got a responsibility to come in and use it. And I feel happy that I'm taking something that's been laid waste and turning it into a home for up to 20 people who wouldn't have anywhere else to go otherwise.
As Catherine shows me around, I meet 2 other squatters. Richard, a fashion photographer, and Pete, a performance poet. They say they squat because they can't afford London rents. But it's not just their housing they get for free.
All of this you find in a shop skip or a supermarket skip?
Yeah, they throw it away every single night.
Does anyone ever try and stop you from taking it?
I don't think they have any protocols for dealing with it, to be honest.
All right, so what have you got here? Potatoes, bananas?
A lemon.
Yeah, a lemon.
Probably stealing that later. Sweet potatoes,
yeah,
of course.
Is this
onions?
What's in this?
Actimel, apples, donuts.
And do you get quality stuff? Like, do you get quality cuts of meat? You know.
Yeah.
I skipped Lindor chocolates last night.
Lindor chocolates?
Yeah.
You middle-class squatter.
Look at our asparagus.
Yeah, look.
Oh, Portwood. Very, very grand. What's your supermarket skip of choice, then? I mean, I personally quite like shopping at Waitrose. Waitrose, OK. So we have something absolutely in common. I shop at Waitrose, you skip from the back of Waitrose.
There seem to be plenty of food. But there are as many as 20 people squatting here. And to my discomfort, they share just the one toilet, which I reluctantly needed to use.
We should have loo roll. Where does the loo roll go? We had loo roll earlier.
I just need a pee, it's fine.
Are you serious?
But so, hang on, hold it.
Here we go.
She never stops. Thank you. I need to get... Catherine, I need to get the water, don't I, to flush it?
Yeah, but you can pee first.
Can we stay for this?
You can't film me pissing. What are you talking about?
Why not?
I'm not... No, you're not filming me urinating. You can listen. I can think of better uses of television time.
Yeah, but so can we all, Richard, but that's the times we're living in.
OK. So, all done, but, Kath, where's... Oh, here we are. There we are. That'll do.
Yeah.
Don't jam the ballcock.
Yeah. I love that word, ballcock.
Ballcock's a good word.
I love to say ballcock at any
It's like sort of it's a two-in-one word, isn't it?
Yeah,
right, here we go.
Brilliant word.
So, do I put this right up to the top, then? To get it to work?
Just until the ballcock's level.
That's it. Horny-handed son of toil. She works!
Way.
With so many people in Britain homeless, I can see why Catherine thinks it's morally wrong to strip a building and leave it empty just as an investment. And yet, it's not theirs to live in, is it?
I suppose we keep having to come back to the bottom line, though, don't we? You're still living in a fabulous house, fabulous place, in a fabulous part of London, for absolutely nothing. How would you feel if you were to walk out your front door tonight, or your temporary front door, and somebody passing by goes, "Sponger, you're sponger"?
I've signed on for 2 weeks in my entire life. I've been a taxpayer for 10 years. We all contribute to society, but we're in a double-dip recession at the moment.
For a Greek shipping magnate who's registered in a tax haven of Liberia to keep this property empty for 7 years, then I feel no shame for turning this into a space where people can live and be productive and work.
These guys seem to me more like friendly hippies than freeloading anarchists. Working as freelancers, they say they can't afford to pay regular rent, so squatting's the only way that they can survive in London and pursue their careers. But I'm not completely sure that pursuing a career is why most people squat. I was heading back to Bristol, hoping to meet up with Tristan, the savvy squatter. I wondered what else he and his friends might be getting for free.
There's a bloke there, we've been watching him for the last couple of minutes, who's got a trolley with what looks like a brand new mattress on top of it. Now, I'm guessing, I mean, it is a guess, that if you see a bloke walking down an empty street with a mattress on a trolley, he's a squatter. He's a squatter and he's going to a squat, or he's going to break into a squat. Excuse me, sir. Hello, sorry to make you jump. Hi, what's your name?
Omar.
Hi, I'm Richard. Are you squatting?
Yeah.
Where's your squat?
Yes, 10 minutes that way. It's in front of us.
Is it the bank?
Yeah.
Is it the old bank?
Yeah.
I've heard about that place. And so is this just for you, or have you got a girlfriend, or?
For me and my girlfriend.
Is she there now?
No, she comes. She came tomorrow.
She's coming tomorrow?
She's coming tomorrow.
So you're getting it ready for her? Where are you from?
From Spain.
And is she coming from Spain?
Yeah.
Which airport?
From Seville.
From Seville?
In the south. Yeah.
Okay, and does she know that she's coming to a squat?
Yeah, of course.
Does she? And
she was living with me in a squat here.
Okay. Hey, we're blocking the road, actually, so should we push it across quickly?
Yeah,
I'll give you a hand, hang on. Right, hold up then. Whew. Where'd you get the mattress?
Yes, in the street.
Just lying in the street?
Yeah.
So that's good for a squat?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, have a good night.
Okay.
Thanks very much. I told you, Bristol, squat capital of Britain.
I eventually made contact with Tristan back at Dave's property, which he was still squatting. He's living with his friend Madeley and half a dozen others, and they promised to show me how they eat for nothing by foraging for food.
Don't ruin your best jeans, Richard.
These aren't my best jeans. I've got to be honest with you, I had no idea this happened. Until I started making this programme, I had no idea there was such a thing as skipping. I had no idea that there was so much effectively free food that had been chucked out. No idea that this went on.
Oh yeah, there's extreme amounts. For some reason, they make so much bread. We've always got enough bread, so if worse fails, we can at least eat bread.
Yeah. Have you had any competition with other squatters? When you get there, will we find some others, maybe?
It's very rare that we bump into someone else.
Yeah, it is rare.
Time. But if we did, we would say, well, here we go, there's like 5 packs of that, we'll like share it with you.
So no one's ever asked you to get them, some pâté de foie gras?
No, there's no point of a wish list. It's what you get what you're given.
Right, I see many bins.
Yeah. Oh, look, competition.
How's it look?
Yeah, as I said, there's tons and tons of bread.
Have you got much? What have you got? What have you got, man?
Just some cakes and
chicken.
Okay. Are you squatting then?
No.
No? Are you homeless?
No, not homeless.
Yeah, take care.
Cheers. We've got a lot of bread as usual, but we get bread a lot, but everyone's very hungry, so they're going to appreciate that.
Okay. And of course, strictly speaking, even though that's a rubbish bin and that is headed for the...
No, we are criminals.
You're stealing bread?
We are stealing bread
that's been thrown away
for landfill.
What do you think about that law?
Well, it's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Which is why I'm doing it so openly. Like, if the police want to arrest me, they're welcome to. I'll take the charge.
We can look in the others?
Yep.
There's more bread.
More bread, standard procedure.
More rolls, but no, they're in bags, so
Got some green beans, all right.
Green
They're
beans,
packed up. Every little helps.
Yeah, that's it.
Are you going to call it a day, or do you think you should go on to another one?
There's one about 5 minutes down the road, which I think is worth checking, because we've only got bread and that's not enough to live on, is
OK, you
it?
don't mind us following you there, then?
Tristan grew up in Norfolk, but he left home at 16, and he's now been squatting, on and off, for 8 years.
Well, it's definitely packed full. More bread. There is a Sun newspaper, but it's where it needs to be, in the bench. When you're starving hungry, sometimes you've got no choice but to just get quite involved with the bin.
You suffer for your lifestyle, don't you?
More bread!
They may live rent-free, but seeing them scavenge thrown-away food made me feel sympathy for them, and angry at what seems like an obscene waste.
Anything?
No, oranges is a lot.
So in this case, oranges are the only fruit.
Yeah.
Tristan told me that he doesn't claim any benefits. I discovered that's a point of honour for many squatters. He says without skipping and squatting, he'd be hungry and homeless. But I was about to meet someone who actually chose this way of life. She gave up a high-flying career to be a squatter.
Mission accomplished.
So who are we off to see today, Richard?
We're going to see an interesting character called Dory. She's in her 50s. I think she's about the same age as me, and she's a squatter. I mean, most of the squatters you meet are kind of teenagers, 20s, maybe pushing into their 30s, but this is a generation and a half apart. I have to say that if I'd thought when I was 20-odd that I would be squatting when I was in my 50s, I'd probably cut my wrists, you know?
Hello?
Hello, is that Dory?
Yes,
hello, Dory. Hi, it's Richard Madeley. I'm just around the corner. It's all very cloak and dagger, this. Is it because the others are a bit suspicious of us? I think we're going to stitch them up.
Yeah, well, they've had quite bad experiences, so there's trust issues.
All right, let me come round. I'll join you, and you can lead us through, OK?
I'm walking towards you right now.
OK, all right. Well, we'll walk towards you, and we'll meet in the middle. See you in a minute. OK.
Bye.
All right, bye. Dory? Hey. We meet at last.
Hiya, how are you?
Hi.
Sorry about all the delays.
No, that's OK, no worries. Are we roughly of an age, you and I? I'm 56. Can I ask?
You're a bit rude. I recently celebrated.
I
celebrated the 29th anniversary of my 21st birthday in February.
OK, I get you. Oh, right, OK,
Yeah.
OK.
We're going to need to start filming once we go beyond the gate, but if you just want to see, this is the section. We're going to enter down there that I live in.
Can we start filming properly again now?
Yes, we can, but we need to just leg it down the corridor.
OK.
Okay, so this is a little terrace area.
OK, this is your little garden, or is it communal?
It's communal.
OK.
No,
So how long have you been here for?
I've been here for 11 months.
So if you could somehow summon up the young Dory, you know, the 20-something Dory, and she's sitting down here, how would you explain to her what's happened to you, that you've ended up in a London squat?
Well, I think at that time I was pole vaulting up the corporate ladder in America. And was caught up in that whole, bigger, faster car, that, the house, the boat, the cars, and I would have laughed. I would have thought, there's no way.
You'd have been horrified, actually, wouldn't you?
I probably would have, but I was quite materialistic then.
I mean, you were at the heart of capitalism. You're completely disconnected from it.
Yeah, and self-sufficient.
How's that happened?
Yeah, but I chose that, Richard.
But why
I
and
did choose
how?
that.
What was the
I
turning
chose a
point?
radical career change.
14 years ago, Dory quit her job in Texas as a hotshot financier to pursue her dream of becoming a stand-up comic. It took her to Munich and then London. With her savings now gone, Dory can only follow that dream if she doesn't have to pay rent.
Do you ever wake up in the morning here, and you've got it nice and cosy here, you really have. Do you ever wake up and just sometimes flip back into the Dory that used to be and think, what if I'd stayed like that? I'd be living in a big house, maybe I would have remarried, I'd have maybe 3 cars in the drive, because you were good at what you did. Do you ever yearn for that old life and those old riches and comforts at all? Don't you?
I really don't.
Not in any way.
But you can create that again.
If you were to look into the crystal ball and see that, say, at 60 or at 70, you're still squatting, living a life pretty much like this.
No. Within 5 years, I would like to be in a position to purchase a property.
Has squatting basically released the inner you?
It helped me lose fear. It helped me let go of the fear. How would you feel now? Let's talk about your life. What would... If your squat were like this, though, you have to admit, once I get that window clean, that is just gorgeous.
I am so locked into my own lifestyle and into the choices that I've made that to me the thought of squatting is just, well, it's unthinkable. I can't imagine doing it. Because I'm so far away from that place. But I'm so interested to find people who were once kind of like me, ambitious, working in the main sector, who've actually done something that I can't even conceive of doing. It's an extraordinary thing.
I don't think I could have done it without the community, though, without being invited into a community center. And see, I craved what they had.
But you see, I'm
an only child. My mother's deceased. I don't have children. I don't have the nieces, nephews, kids. I don't have that. I crave that.
And you get that here with the community. You get the family that you never had.
Although Dory seems pretty cosy in her flat for now, Lambeth Council have issued her and her fellow 80 squatters a notice that they intend to move them out at some point later this year. I just feel lucky that the topsy-turvy, unpredictable nature of squatting is something that I don't have to live with. I spent weeks travelling around Britain, and it was clear that the issues surrounding squatting are complicated, blurred at the edges, and not quite what I'd thought. But the woman I was about to meet made me feel nothing but anger against a certain kind of squatter because of the pain and the difficulty that he'd caused her. This is Mary. We have to protect her identity as she's been a victim of domestic violence, and she has learning difficulties. Lindsay Richardson told me that the housing association she works for found Mary a flat so she could escape her violent home life. But on the very day she was due to move in, a squatter got there first.
I think squatters shouldn't have the right to squat in flats that are waiting for people to move in.
Yes, it wasn't derelict, was it? I mean, it didn't have no furniture in or no carpets.
No, it was habitable.
For nearly 8 weeks, Mary was in effect homeless, while the housing association tried to evict the squatter.
So this could have been yours?
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that squatter?
It took a costly court order and bailiffs to remove him. But thankfully, Mary was successfully rehoused.
Well, this would have been front room.
Okay, and you've got a balcony?
Yeah.
Which is nice. Yeah, nice view into the square. Yeah, it would have been sweet for you. Listen, you did actually manage to get the guy out. It took, as you say, about 8 or 9 weeks. So the laws work, but it's expensive. What do you think about this new legislation where, from September, if somebody does that again, they'll be a criminal and the police can come and arrest them? Do you think it'll make things much easier and cheaper for you?
But once it's criminalised, and we're hoping it is going to have an effect, until we actually see it in place, we're not going to know actually how it's going to work.
Everybody's saying we'll wait and see. But theoretically, it would mean that if this happened in the future and it was where she would still be able to move in, probably same day.
And she would have been able to move into the property, yes.
Yeah. Well, thanks for showing me around. Appreciate that, that's good. It's a black and white open and shut case to me. That's squatting as wrong as it can be. To me, it's akin to burglary. Certainly criminal damage, because of course he would have broken in. And I think this new law, which will criminalise that kind of behaviour, has to be a good thing, because it means that the police can come round, they can winkle him out of the property, and Mary can move in.
My days with the squatters were coming to an end. I was almost ready to return to my own legitimate bricks and mortar and conventional family life. But before I returned home, I'd been told about an extraordinary squat on the outskirts of London. There are a group of squatters living near Heathrow Airport who are actually welcomed by local residents, schools, and even their Member of Parliament.
Actually, it looks pretty orderly in there. It's quite pretty. You got a nice spot here. Looks really nice.
Ruben is a Cambridge University graduate and studying for a master's degree.
How are you spelling that?
She lives here with 15 others, one of whom is Rob, who works as a photographer.
Nice to meet you.
According to local residents, before the squatters arrived, this area was a derelict wasteland.
It was completely derelict, and it was causing loads of problems in the local area.
You know, people said, this has been like this for a long time, why don't you come and do something, do a community project here? It's just direct action of putting the land back into the hands of the community.
The Grow Heathrow squat is on the site of Heathrow's proposed third runway.
So would the tarmac of the third runway be where we're standing?
Exactly
Be
where we're
right here,
standing,
would it?
yeah, and all these houses around the site would all be flattened.
They've set up environmental projects with local schools and youth groups, which are so popular, the nearby residents in the village of Sipson really don't want them to leave. Everything on the squat they've built themselves. The electricity is generated through a wind turbine and solar panels.
Oh, wow, is this a shower? Hey, that is some contraption.
They've made a solar-powered shower, they have a community bike shop, and visitors are welcome anytime. Improving this squatted land has been a huge commitment.
I would say that living here and working in my spare time so I have some cash, I work much harder than I did when I had a full-time job.
Like personally, I'm working part-time, I study part-time, and then I work on this place, and collectively it's quite a lot of things. But you know, it is really fulfilling.
I love your use of slogans, even that's got one. Tool board, every revolution needs its tools. Put them back. Even the toilet has a slogan. Did you do a poo-poo, put sawdust down the Lulu. Just having a pee.
I was incredibly impressed by the work and dedication of the squatters here. They've transformed a derelict wasteland into a productive and thriving community space. Ruben and her fellow squatters are clearly emotionally attached to this project, but I wondered what their future might hold.
How would it be if you were in a relationship with someone who said, I don't want to live like this, I love you to pieces, and you love me, I've got some money in the bank, let's buy a house in the Cotswolds and come and live there and have children. Could you walk away from this?
What
are you giggling at? That's a perfectly reasonable scenario.
Sounds like a good option. How big's the house?
I'll give it 4
What's
bedrooms.
the view like?
I have no idea what I'm going to be doing in 2 or 3 years' time, you know.
But can you see yourself? What I'm saying is, you know, sort of coming home from work, opening your front door with a key.
The average cost of rent in London at the moment is £1,000 a month, which is a figure that's simply unaffordable for many, many people, myself included.
What I'm driving at is this. Where is the line when it's acceptable to do what you've done?
Squatting has been a way that people can use their initiative and common sense to go into derelict spaces, work really hard to make them livable, and try, you know, and often they might come to agreements with landlords. That happens all the time, where you actually say, okay, here, have a peppercorn rent, you look after the space, and then, you know, leave or whatever when I need it.
You must accept, surely, that there are some squats which are obviously illegal, but also damaging, where houses are badly damaged. You know, they don't know how to take care of them, and they cause a lot of mess, and then they move on. You'd accept that, wouldn't you? I mean, you can't say that all squatting is good.
I think there's absolutely no evidence that squatters are any more likely to cause antisocial behaviour than ordinary tenants.
You're trying to find a home for yourself.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So you want to do it up, you want to have good relations with your neighbours, and it just doesn't make sense, all these horror stories that the Daily Mail love to come out with, you know. It's just, generally, from the squatting networks that we're involved in, that is, people want to squat and find a home to live, you know.
I think you've got a really nice thing going here, and I don't feel that sorry for the bloke who owns the property based on what you've told me, and I'll take that at face value. The way they conduct themselves and the way they treat the space that they've occupied and get on with the people here is great.
So, Mr. Madeley, our time together is nearing an end.
Yeah, I shall miss you.
How do you feel?
Well, it's been one of the more unusual summers of my career, actually. I didn't come into this with anything more, really, than a series of question marks, and yes, possibly some simple prejudices which is informed by newspaper headlines. I certainly didn't expect to discover what I discovered, and what that is, really, is that you can't label squatting simply. It's a complex world that these people live in. And in that sense, it's like any other social group, you know? It doesn't take kindly to an easy, simple label.
So in a nutshell, you're glad you met the squatters?
I'm very glad I met the squatters, and I wouldn't have discovered what I know about them now, and that will be there forever, if I hadn't done. I'm glad I met them.